Okay, welcome to another live stream this week. We are going to be doing a little bit tonight with the gain tool, and if we get a crowd on here, then we'll just do some Q&A as well. But we might start off a little slow. I know that the update's been out for a few days now, and so the newness is wearing off just a little bit. But certainly I've seen some people online who are upgrading to this who I never thought that this would be what it would take for them to upgrade to the newest version of Logic, but cool. So let's talk about some of that stuff. Let's actually look at this specific tool. I want to look a little bit at the gain tool and talk about some of the nuances of it. At first blush, you might think, well, that's just a really straightforward tool, when in fact there are some things that are kind of cool about it that maybe if you haven't actually gotten in and used it yet, you don't even realize. So first and foremost, the recap of what the gain tool is that if you're using it, I'm going to go into my key commands here. If you do TG on your typing keyboard, it flips into it. If you push T on the keyboard, it brings up this menu, and then all of the other additional key commands to pull up any of the tools become active, and G is the gain tool. Okay, so then you'll see when I go over audio files with this, that you'll see the yellow line with a little decibel data showing up. Cool. That means I can pull this up or down, and I can click with Option to reset that to 0. So I can get it back to 0 just by holding Option and clicking back on the same region. This is, if you look in the top left-hand corner of the screen, this is how we would do this before. I would click on a region and go up to my gain setting here, and it would do the exact same thing. So up in our properties, our region properties, including clicking with the Option key to pull that back. So this isn't like a new functionality, it's just a new way of getting to that functionality. Now here's where some of the other things that are kind of interesting happen. Maybe some things you didn't think about. One of them is if you're using take folders. You'll see I don't get any line when I go over a take folder, and I can't pull that up and down. Well, you still can, you just have to go into the actual folder, and then you can do it down in here. So you can still do this. This is a take I'm not using. Well, it looks like it didn't actually pull it. There we go. You want to make sure. Ooh, this is a nuance I hadn't even seen before. Interesting. Let me undo all of that real quick because it looks like it's trying to do it, but it's not actually doing it. Let's click on this and adjust the gain up here. So you might have to do that still with your properties, because right now when I was doing it down in the actual take, I assumed that that was going to work, but it's just clicking and dragging on it. So I think that's a little bit of a glitch. When you're in this mode and that shows up, the little thing, it should be able to change the gain, but it's currently not. So yay for some nuanced take folder gain tool existence. So the other thing then, if you want to do just a portion of this instead of the whole region, I've got the marquee tool on my command key here. So if I hold my command key, make a little selection, say I just want to do this amount, then I can go up with that. Now it does split it into new regions. And so if you don't want to split it into new regions, then maybe this isn't the right way to go. But certainly this is one way to go. So I can just pull this up and down and separates it just like you'd expect, but it allows you to do individual pieces of this with short amount of keystrokes. So very efficient. And the efficiency comes because we have the marquee tool on our secondary tool, the gain tool on our primary tool, and we can just easily make a selection, go up and down, make a selection, take that one down, make a selection, maybe go up. So you can see I can very easily get through all of those and it's really, really efficient the way it works. Of course, if you want something more nuanced, then what we're really going to be doing is going into the automation mode with the A key, and I'm going to switch this over to like region automation, and then I'll just keep on doing this the old-fashioned way. Now there's even ways to be more efficient with this, but that's not the point of this. But there are some tools and key commands which allow you to do things pretty nicely in that view. So let's go out of that view. So that would be the region automation, not the gain for the actual region itself. There are a lot of layers with this. I think it's all really interesting, but certainly once you get into the workflow of this, I think you're going to find that there are some huge benefits just to even ballparking how loud things should be. So for instance, I'm looking at this part right here. Some of the vocal stuff is, you can see, visibly softer. Say I wanted to just ballpark all of this so that a compressor was really leveling this out much more, well, not necessarily accurately, but if everything's at the same level, then it's not going to necessarily overshoot or undershoot because the input is at a softer level. So it may be that this right here is something that I want to just pull up a little bit. And so I'll eyeball the actual levels compared to the ones next to it. That may be too much, but we're going to find out, right? You can hear a jump right there. I mean, I heard a jump. That's like the noise floor coming up. And so in some cases, this isn't what you'd want to do. But if it was like a subtle change, 9 times out of 10, I'm probably actually going to be coming through and being like, ooh, that's a little bit loud, let's turn it down. And then we won't have as much of that. So kind of nice that we have that kind of control where I don't have to go into the automation. I don't have to like switch views or anything right from this where I'm working on all my other editing. I mean, it's just really handy to be able to have all of that right there in front of us. So I like it. Is it as good as some of the other tools and other DAWs? You know, hard to say. I think right now it's the right one at the right time for Logic. Pedro says, it seems that Logic wants to start approaching the competition in 2010. Yes and no. There are some things in Logic that I think have been pushing the boundaries for a long time that you can't necessarily take for granted and say that they're behind. I was just doing this, we started a new synthesizer club on campus this week. And all the students came in and I was like, you know what, let's do a quick sample. Let's make a sample version of this synthesizer really quick so we can just play around with the sound of it. And it's like I recorded the synth into Logic, just one file, played like 6 notes on the synthesizer, and I drug it over and just had it essentially auto mapped without really having to think at all. I mean, it did looping of the individual files, it did pitch detection and mapped them to the right notes. It did all of this stuff, and it took literally like 15 seconds. And so when we look at Logic's strengths and the competition, you know, things like that, the sampling capabilities, the beat making capabilities, some of the functionality in the step sequencer, those are things that I still think blow a lot of the other workstations out of the water. And then they add stuff, but it's like Ableton just added this year take folders. I mean, everybody else has had those for decades, it feels like. Not exactly, but you know what I mean, a long time. And Ableton just added it. They just added like a reverb where you can do impulse response or synthesized reverb. And of course, Space Designer has been doing that for a very long time. And I mean, Space Designer can even do like ambisonic reverb. And it's like no other workstation has that built into any of their stuff. So I think certainly, yes, it's nice that the gain tool has come out and it's handy. I mean, there's always been the ability to do the same thing using the gain functionality in the region inspector, but now we can just do it here. Cool, you know, it is what it is. Same thing with 32-bit files. It feels like we're kind of last to the party on that one to a certain degree. So, you know, I guess we take it is for what it is. The rest of the stuff that came out this update, all of the bug fixes and things, I saw a lot of comments about that online about how they're like, well, they're just fixing the stuff they introduced in the last couple versions, and some of that's probably true. You know, it's like they fix the things that they've broken along the way, and everybody has their favorite bug that's still there and has been there for like, you know, 10 years. But, you know, most of the things, even that were in that list, I don't even experience or hadn't experienced. So it's like everyone hits that wall at the wrong moment, and it's very memorable. So, but the gain tools, I think, is pretty handy. Now, I don't think, I'm trying to experiment with a few things here. We can't do with the gain tool all, you know, 5 of these files. Let's do them down here. I can do that still in the properties. So if you're like, I just want to gain all of these, you can't use the gain tool for that, but you can use the region inspector still. So if you're like, ooh, this is great, but I can still just do one at a time. Well, no, just make a selection, and then all of the ones you have are going to be up there. This even applies. Let's do just one of these for a second. And you'll see I'll go up by like a few decibels, and then I'll make a selection of these, and you'll see that little asterisk. It's like a little star, maybe, hard to see. But then I can still go up and down with all of them. And then I'll click, say, here, and it'll say 6.5 decibels, and this one will say 8. And so it's maintaining the relative amount to each other. And then I can go click Option on that, and then click Option on that, because there'll be, all the rest of them will have gone to 0 except for the one that was different. And now they're all back to the same. So it's a non-destructive way to change the levels there. Pretty handy. That's really it for this tool. It's not more complicated than that. I do think, I remember when Pro Tools got clip gain, and I still prefer that one overall. It doesn't require a separate tool, and you can just kind of do it. It's like a little icon in the corner of the region. That's still one of my favorites, but we have this now, which is kind of nice. Will I be using this all the time? You know, I don't know exactly, because in the type of stuff I do, you know, most of the things are recorded relatively in the right range, which means I can go through with a compressor and get the sound I want, or some other dynamics tool and really sculpt that. But I think that certainly there may be a time when I'm like, you know what, this would just be so much easier if I could just get the whole clip up a certain level, and then that tool will be super handy. And I think that that's most of the time. There will be some people who adopt this and use it all the time. If I were doing post-production stuff in here with any kind of sound design and sound effects, yeah, I'd be doing that a lot. If, say we're like, just do like a reverse cymbal for a second, right? This is something that I can think off the top of my head that I would do. I wonder if we have a reverse cymbal already built into here. Yeah, reverse cymbal riser. Right, so maybe that one, I don't know. So say we're pulling this in as a transition thing here. The problem with this is I can't change the overall curve using this tool, but that's okay. Let's have that go just a little bit further. And let's just, I don't know if I want it quite that prominent. I just want it a little bit lower. Time it back just a little bit. But then I can do that. It's like, TG, let's make a change. Ooh, actually we want it louder, whatever. You know, it's like, let's, in this case, if I wanted to change the overall arc, I would just do it this way, like that. Let's see. And then because it really jumps in, I turn it down, make it a subtle thing. And I really hate all of that, so we're just getting rid of it. But that's an example of a workflow where I could see myself using the gain tool without having to do anything else more complicated. I don't have to add an effect and change it. I don't have to do automation. I don't even have to reach for the fader, which wouldn't take long. But say that track, say I'm using one track for a whole bunch of like, you know, one shots, and I just want them all. I don't have to worry about adjusting the fader on that track at all. Leave it at Unity, adjust all of those files to the right place, and we're off to the races with it. So pretty straightforward. Any questions from anybody who's watching? Any thoughts, comments, requests? Thinking of new ways to use this tool? I'll give you a second. Trying to think. There was something else I was going to do with it, but for the life of me, I can't remember. I think that was the majority of ways to use it. That's the thing. It's so simple. But even as I showed earlier, even when you're in the take folder, Logic found a way to screw it up. I mean, Apple certainly didn't need to do. There was no need to screw that part up. So, take folders have always been like a curse. They've never quite mastered just making it easy, you know? Always has to be difficult on themselves. Well, this could be a short live stream tonight, which is fine. I think the next, I still am working on a video where I'm doing a comparison of 10.7.5 on Ventura and 10.7.4 on non-Ventura on two Mac Studios. But funny story, I can't find the other power cord for my other computer, so I need to find that. Ugh, what a pain in the butt. Let's see what you're saying here. Let's see. And we'll see where we go with this. If any of you have questions, obviously. Let's see. Here we go. Yes, they're gonna. So Pedro, they are gonna leave. That's okay. You don't have to do it in English. They are gonna leave the searchability of plugins till never, probably. I don't know why they haven't added that in yet. And so you're right. Cubase, Pro Tools, Cakewalk, Studio One, all of them have had that forever. It feels like, but obvious things like plugin search. they are going to wait until 2030. That I can't help. And it's like maybe not. Maybe the next version will come out. This particular update has taught me a couple things I think about Apple and Logic. And one of them was, I was hoping when we got the next major version of Logic that it was going to be different, right? I thought it was going to be, something really shiny and different. And this 10.7.5 just made me realize that no, it's just going to be another incremental update. They're not going to do like a revolutionary thing. In fact, when Apple changed Final Cut from like version 7 or whatever to version 10, they skipped some numbers and they rewrote the whole thing. There was such backlash that I think they probably decided they would never do that again, my guess. And so everything's going to be pretty incremental. They fixed so many bugs and small things in this version that unless they're like that's the end of the road for this software, and we're just gonna we have a new version we've been working on like GarageBand Pro or something, which is possible. I mean, they have done it before, but I'd be so surprised if they went that route and just threw away this old version at that point. And so what we're probably looking at with the next thing is just more instruments, more functionality like we already have. It's probably going to be like they're going to add another type of drummer to it. It'll be like ethnic drummer or something that focuses on other like world styles, or they'll have like 6 different drummer type instruments, and one will be like the country drums and the metal drums and all this other stuff. And so they're going to do that kind of thing and not probably a major overhaul of anything. They wouldn't have been spending this time getting 32-bit to work the way they did if they weren't planning on keeping this software as it is for the foreseeable future. And the last update they gave us was like 6 months ago before this. And so with them coming infrequently like this, I think the writing's on the wall that we're just going to get more of the same stuff moving forward. Yay! Crowd goes wild. But who knows? I think we'll see some stuff as it's happening. Yeah, so the videos I've done this week, I did one on the free record. Let's see, it's not shown. Oh, it's because this is an old project. The free tempo recording. That seems to work pretty well, but I still need to test it out a little bit more. We're doing this one on the gain. We've done one on the release notes and the overall impressions of this. Let's see what else. What else we need to do. Here's the menu gain tool. I'm not really doing one on the nested track stacks. We could do something on the individual Stompbox plugins. Those are all pretty nice. What about on the mixing board where it has the 0 on the left and the 0 on the right on each track? Is that adjusting the same thing there? Where are you talking about exactly? J Dizzle for Rizzle. In the mixing board, you're talking about in here. Well, hold on. Let me get the right program. In here, you're talking about like the faders? Well, I'll let you clarify a little bit in a second here, but so if I understand what you're asking, you're probably talking about these little numbers right here. One of them is the fader level, and the other one is the meter level. But out here, the gain tool doesn't adjust that. It's separate. It's adjusting at the file, the region level, And then that gets sent out into the mixer and it gets further adjusted through the fader and any plugins and things. So this is like setting it before it goes through all of that. And so there's like multiple layers of levels happening. Now, if I come through, say I've got a file here and I go into automation mode, and this is there's two types of automation. We have the track, which is a line level that goes across the entire track area. And then we can do region, which is limited to the region. The nice thing about this is that if I make some changes here that and I move my region, those will just easily go with them. Now, if I go to my mixer here, watch this track right there, the fader. Take a look away. Take a look away. So that goes and changes with it, right? So that's any changes I make either on the region or the track, and we can do this. So let's do that right there. And I want to switch this over to the, I hope I can get all this undone. But so we're going to do it like this. Just take a look away. Take a look away. See what I can see. Take a look away. So we have two different things of automation. One of them is overriding the other one, which is the region one is overriding the track one. We can have both of those in place. And I mean, that's not even working because we have the region automation. Let me go back into here and undo all of that. I don't want any of that automation in there. But so we have them in both places. The region one is higher on the hierarchy. The track one gets overridden. But if you have automation, say you had like some region automation here, and you're like, ooh, that's all just a little bit, that's a little bit too loud, but I like the curve of it. You could either do a trim function with automation, or you could do the gain tool and reduce the actual region volume level. So it's in, that's the problem. It's like all of a sudden now we've got all this stuff in, well, we've always had it in like this many places, but now people are going to be using the gain tool. They weren't really using the gain properties as much, is my instinct. I don't think as many people were using that as there are going to be people using the gain tool, because it's like the new shiny toy. But that doesn't mean that functionality wasn't there all along. It was. Cool. Yeah, the next video I'm going to make is all about the MIDI effects and being able to record the MIDI effects data into your track, because there's some really neat things you can do with that, and some really powerful functionality with it. That comes next. That's the next video that I'm going to be working on. In addition to the test of the two versions on essentially the same computer, they're pretty close, and seeing which of them is performance-wise actually, how it's actually doing on Ventura and things like that. Cool. Well, thanks for the two of you who are commenting. If there's anybody else who's interested in asking something as a part of the Q&A portion of this, right now is your chance. And then if not, we're going to pull the plug on this specific live stream. And yeah, that's what's going to happen next. So let me know in the next like 60 seconds, because the delay on this stream is about 5 seconds or 4 seconds. So I'll give you like 15 or 20 seconds to say, hold on. And then we'll just go from there. Cool. Do. I was about to start singing the song for one of those quiz shows on broadcast TV and decided to not do that because somebody owns that copyright. YouTube would pay them money. Okay, cool. Well, looks like we're drying up a little bit. Just a short stream, really. Just wanted to go over this gain tool and see if we had any questions or look at some of the nuances with it. Hope you find this useful. And like I said, we're doing more videos coming up shortly on other topics, and then back to the normal broadcast schedule, which is whenever I feel like making a video. So hope you're having a great day. Almost the weekend. We'll do one more before the weekend, and then like I said, next week kind of back to normal.